Welcome and thanks for joining us for another episode of Code Girls on Air, a podcast exploring all things technology, female leadership, careers, education, and topics within the nonprofit sector. On this episode, we interviewed Amy Moore, who is a senior software engineer at Apex Fintech Solutions and the teacher of the advanced class here at Code Girls United. So join me and Amy to hear more of her story. Welcome, Amy. Thank you so much for joining us on Code Girls on Air today.
Thank you for having me.
Do you think you could start by just introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about your background and your career?
Yes, for sure. My name is Amy Moore. I grew up in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I graduated from Hopkins High School. I was fortunate enough to grow up in a blended family where I had two sets of parents and 4 older sisters.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of females in the house.
A lot of females.
A lot of females. The cats were even females.
My goodness.
Probably the fish, too. Who knows? I loved playing sports, doing puzzles, and hanging out with my friends. I enjoyed the outdoors, everything about the outdoors. And as I was growing up, I grew a passion for downhill skiing. And when I was in high school, I joined the slalom ski team. And after I graduated high school, I then moved to Bozeman, Montana, where I could live in the mountains and attend Montana State University, Bozeman.
Best of both worlds.
Best of both worlds. I pursued a degree in computer science. When I was in college, I met my husband. And after college, we moved to Atlanta, Georgia to pursue our careers, knowing it was going to be a short stint because there's no ski hill in the Atlanta, Georgia area.
No.
So we made our way back to Montana after just a couple of years, and now we live in Whitefish, Montana. My husband's a commercial photographer, and I am a senior software engineer. I work for a company called Apex Fintech Solutions. I work with approximately 16 other developers divided up into 4 teams, and my current team has 4 other developers on it.
Wow. So you talked a little bit about how you liked the problem-solving aspect, and that's what led you. What else led you to computer science and the technology side of things?
Well, what led me to it is probably my passion for puzzles. I love to solve puzzles, and I knew computer science had that involvement with doing puzzles. I actually didn't know that I was going to go into computer science until I was a senior in high school.
Oh.
And I don't recall this story. In fact, I was asked this question a couple of years ago, and I didn't know the answer, so I reached out to my mother. And she reminded me rather quickly that I had attended some sort of high school counselor specializing in career growth for students so they could help guide you through your next stage in life. And I came home telling my mother I wanted to go to school and I wanted to go to college and I wanted to get a computer science degree.
Oh, wow. Just bam, bam, bam.
Yeah. I in fact, it was, I actually really don't recall any of it. But school was not easy for me. I was an average student at best. I excelled in math and science, but English and history were a real struggle. I didn't have good comprehension level. In fact, it was below average. I went to school after school to work on my comprehension level and reading skills. And it helped, but it didn't like solve all of my problems, you know? So I had to find other ways to learn. So I attended all my classes. I was a really good note taker. I was a really good listener, and I worked really hard. I worked hard on my homework, and I worked hard on my in-school projects to get the grades that I got. But that being said, it was still average grades. But while growing up, it was obvious that my brain was wired for math.
Yeah.
Numbers, problem solving, all of that. So after graduating high school, I knew that a career in computer science was probably my best bet after talking with that school counselor. And the industry was booming at the time, still is. Great career choice to have. It offers flexibility to work anywhere. It's got great pay as far as compensation goes, and a wealth of job opportunities out there. Very wide range of things. So coming out of high school, I didn't know any programming languages. In fact, I had never taken a programming class before, and I've never written a line of code going into college.
Wow. As a computer science major.
As a computer science major, correct. So it was quite interesting to attend college and sign up for computer science immediately and learn a lot about it in the first couple months of going to school.
Oh, I'm sure.
A bit scary.
Yeah.
a bit scary. So, yep. So then I attended Montana State University, immediately enrolled in computer science, and I hit the ground running.
Wow. So you hit the ground running right into college in computer science. So what surprised you most when you entered a degree in something you'd never tried before?
Yeah. Well, I mean, college presents its own challenges, many surprises when you first enter college. Everything from living on your own, managing your finances, going to school, self-discipline, and then figuring out that school and life balance. You know, you don't want to be all school, but you want to do good in school. But you also want to hang out with your friends and go skiing.
Right.
So a lot of those challenges were definitely there on day one. But I would say the biggest challenge was the complexity of the classwork. It was something that I was not prepared for, mostly because I had not taken any college or any programming courses. Like I had never written a line of code before.
Right.
Learned it on day one of going to school, and I think a lot of the other students had. And so it was kind of a surprise to me to really start from ground zero, right on day one of college. But I had set a challenge for myself. I'd set a goal for myself that I was going to do this career in 4 years. And I was going to stick at Montana State University and graduate in 4 years. High school wasn't easy, as I mentioned before, which means college also was not easy for me. And to achieve my goal, I had to handle a full and often overwhelming workload, a lot of credits each semester. And after my first year, I learned rather quickly that I couldn't do that. I couldn't do it. It was too much. But I still had to try and reach my goal of graduating 4 years. So between my freshman and sophomore year, I took the summer off, went and hung out with friends, did my own thing. But then immediately after that, I started to enroll in summer school. So I went to school 12 months a year and took summer classes. It really lightened my load for the semesters, allowed me to really fulfill some of those prerequisites for classes. You know how all that works, you know, prereqs to the other classes that may or may not be offered in fall or spring semester. So you have to really plan out your 4 years in advance. So I did enroll in summer school, and honestly, I loved it. The class size was smaller. I took one class at a time. It allowed me just to focus on that particular subject, and that was it. So as much as going to school year-round doesn't sound appealing to most people, I actually really enjoyed it, and it really helped me. And I was determined, I worked hard, and I fulfilled my goal and graduated in 4 years.
No, that's wonderful. You found a system that worked for you and to reach your goal. So can we kind of shift gears and talk about what a day in your life looks like now?
Sure. So my work day varies. Some days I'm focused on my task and I don't get bothered. I can do all the programming I need to do. And then some days I'm spent primarily on Zoom working with other developers. We definitely, have this mentality of collaboration is king and queen. And so working with others can help alleviate roadblocks and speed the process up on the project. So regardless of the day, though, I start by checking my Slack messages and my email. And then I respond if necessary. And then next, I look over our team tasks to make sure that everybody's kind of on track, that the project is on track. Is there anything important that needs to be dealt with? And I will deal with that. And then after that, I will look at some other team members' code. So before we check code in and merge it into the main branch, which will go off to production eventually, we do code reviews to make sure the quality of the code is right and provide feedback to the individual developer. So that's kind of how I start my morning. And then after that, I dive right into my day. If I'm working on my tasks, I'm mostly working on developing new components for our applications. This involves reviewing requirements from the business and the UX designers who provide detailed graphic of what the UI should look like. And then writing code, testing it, creating unit tests, checking it in, getting code review feedback, and eventually it goes out to production. Now, this process for an individual task could be an hour worth of work, and sometimes it's days. It just depends on the complexity of the project and the task that you're given.
Yeah.
But I have a lot on my plate, and there's a lot of demand to get new features out there from the business. Everybody wants something yesterday,
I'm sure.
seems like. So to improve my daily efficiency, our company has actually provided us a lot of tools to do so. And the latest is using AI-based tools.
Oh, cool.
And so with these AI-based tools, I've created some custom prompts where I can enter in some variables, some variable values, and it'll output a skeleton of common component and code that we write for almost every project that we do.
Oh,
and
nice.
This has saved me hours and hours.
Oh, I'm sure.
Work.
Just saving time on the
yeah.
not really tricky stuff, but just time consuming.
Yeah. No, it's fantastic. AI is going to change the world, and it's already changed mine. And I'm new to it, brand new to it. I'm sure a lot of people are, but it's worth learning and studying and applying to your daily routine. So
I'm glad you're able to use that to help you and be more efficient than just, losing your job over it.
Right.
So what's your favorite thing about your job currently?
Oh, it goes back to what I grew up loving to do, and that's problem solving and then constantly learning new things in the tech world. So over the years, I've learned software engineering is just like one big puzzle. You're basically trying to figure out how to solve it, and with the pieces that you're given and the information that you're given, and make it function the way that it should. So, for me specifically, my job is to develop functional applications that's maintainable by other developers, but also aligns with the design, meets the business needs, and is performing to expectations in production. So there's a lot of things to keep in mind when you're actually solving these problems, and making sure that it's done the right way so that it doesn't have to be redone in the future. But I would say that my current employer, they're fantastic. They're committed to using the most advanced technology to deliver the most modern applications in the fintech industry, which really helps me keep my career moving forward. Because we all know technology is just forever changing.
It's ever changing. Yeah.
Evolves over time. So this company that I work for now has just been fantastic about that.
Well, that's wonderful. And so being in your field, being in the computer science industry, it's a very male-dominated industry. What challenges have you faced being in the minority as a female?
So that's an interesting question. And I think coming out of college, I knew it was a male-dominated industry, but growing up with a lot of sisters, I knew how to interact with my sisters, but I actually had a lot of male friends. Maybe that's to get away from
the
girls in the house. I don't know. So I was used to hanging out with quite a few males growing up, but workforce is definitely different than just having friends.
Right, hanging out.
Yeah. So a lot of the challenges that I had was confidence and trust. Those are kind of the two things that ring a bell when talking about the male-dominated industry. But I would say my very first job, I was the only female in the IT department.
Wow.
My manager was male. My peers were male. Everybody around me was a male. When I got called for the interview, I did not interview well. In fact, I didn't know most of the answers to the technical questions that he asked me. I thought for sure there's no way I'm going to get this job. Absolutely no way. I didn't have confidence in myself, and I didn't have real trust in the process. But I was stunned. I got that phone call. I was offered the position. And while I was thrilled, I was also very nervous.
Yeah.
So I had to learn to trust my manager, that he believed that I was the best person for the position. And then I also had to find a way to gain confidence in myself that I could do it. And then, go in front of my peers who are all males who I didn't know anything about. So those were definitely some things that I had to overcome. I was the only female on the team, and I was actually the only female hired in the IT department for that company.
Wow.
So it was a lot, but my manager was absolutely fantastic. That was almost 20 years ago now. Wow. And looking back, I couldn't have been more thankful for the opportunity.
Yeah.
The people that I worked with were fantastic. And despite the initial fear, I soon felt like I was just part of the team, just another person that was part of the team.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. They showed me respect and support from day one and all the way through even to today.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
So it's hard to work in that male-dominated industry, but at the same time, I think what's important to know is that, the people that are around you, your peers, whether they be male or females within the workforce, I've learned that they also are my biggest cheerleaders, and they're also my allies. We work hard together, we collaborate together, and it's quite empowering, actually.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So speaking about empowering women, can you tell us more about your Women in Tech Alliance you started and about that poker power app you were telling me about earlier?
Yeah. So in the corporate world, there's something called ERGs. They're employee resource groups. These groups are often made up of volunteers for various parts of the business to foster support and inclusion throughout the workplace. And when Women in Tech Alliance Group was proposed to support females in tech, I thought, well, I should probably do this. And I was highly encouraged by my boss to sign up for this group. So I did, a little bit out of my comfort zone, meeting new people. But at the end, I realized that it was the right thing to do. One of the first things that the members of this group wanted to do was to start a mentorship program. And this mentorship program would help developers by offering guidance from experienced professionals and speed up their learning and career growth. It also provides valuable feedback and networking throughout the company. And when we launched the program, several males and females signed up to be mentors, but we would only allow female mentees in the program. And that was to help the female mentees feel confident within their careers and also career growth at the same time. So we organized a speed networking event where you put people in random rooms via Zoom, because it was during COVID time.
Right.
And you would introduce yourself and you would give your little sales pitch, and the mentors would do it and the mentees would do it. And then the mentees were actually in control of the program. They got to choose their top 3 mentors, and then the committee would then assign those mentors and mentees and pair them up. And then once that was done, the mentees then controlled when the meetings would happen, how often the meetings would happen. They would control the topic of the meetings and what they were trying to get out of it. And the mentors were strictly there for support and, to help them with their career and such.
Yeah.
So that was really, really cool, and a really cool program. I was a mentee in the program. I was not a mentor. And to this day, I still talk with my mentee. So it's been a few years, and you build good relationships that way. So all of this leads up to one day the owners of the company decided that it would be valuable to teach as many of the women within the company how to play poker. And at first I thought, playing poker on the job, this seems kind of weird, gambling. But they brought in professional poker players who play in the poker world.
Okay.
And they developed a curriculum and a plan to teach us all how to play poker. And we were highly encouraged to sign up for poker lessons throughout the workday, and also play in weekly poker tournaments. They were online using a third-party app at the time. But the way that they taught it was unlike the traditional Vegas way of gambling. This was strictly done for points and bragging rights. So no money was involved. And I thought to myself, why are they teaching us poker? Like, this seems kind of weird. Well, the game has many life lessons. You have to include strategic thinking. You have to include decision making. You have to be able to read your audience and the people at the table. You have to have the courage to take a seat at the table. And lastly, you have to have negotiation skills. And all of these can play a role to build confidence and foster career growth throughout your professional life. And if you think about it, that all seems very, very true.
Yeah, definitely.
So they realized that this was quite a success within the business and decided to start up another company called Poker Power, where they're building their own app, which is a teaching tool to teach people all of these life lessons through the game of poker, which in their minds is just a card game, not a gambling application.
Right, just a game.
Just a game.
Wonderful. That's incredible. That's a really cool way to utilize the game poker.
Right.
So now can you talk about your experience with Code Girls, just kind of being the president of the board, the advanced class teacher, the KPD app?
Oh, yes. Oh, the KPD app. So I first heard about Code Girls when a small group of students and volunteers showed up at my work. They wanted to take a tour of our office. You might have been there.
Yeah, I think I was.
I think it was the first year Code Girls was actually, formed and created. And I was asked to speak in front of these students and volunteers after you guys got a tour of the IT department and a tour of the data center. And so a couple years went by, and I thought that might be kind of fun to actually volunteer and help all of these students learn computer science, because looking back on my early years in life, I didn't have anything like this. I didn't write a line of code until I went to college, which is weird to think about. And so I reached out to the founders, which happened to be the board members and the volunteers and the organizers and the curriculum builders. And everyone group.
They wore all the hats.
Yes, they wore many, many hats, and all of them. And I submitted my application, and they greatly accepted it. So I was really excited to dive in with Code Girls and help teach the students. The first year I volunteered, we actually were online. It was COVID, and I remember everybody, I was new. Like, I was just trying to learn about Code Girls. Again, I didn't know that much about it without signing up. So there's apparently a pattern in my life. I sign up for things before I know anything about it. But we scrambled to figure out how to teach the curriculum online in virtual classrooms. And I applaud all of the founders and other board members at the time because they pulled it off, and it was fantastic. So after that first year, I think that's maybe when the advanced program started.
I think it would have been, because that was when Isabel and I aged out.
Okay, so you guys aged out, and I knew too that there was some students that had kind of graduated from the beginners program and just wanted to learn more outside of the block programming that MIT App Inventor offered. So that's when the advanced program was kind of formed, and I have been teaching the advanced program for quite some time, and I co-teach it with another instructor. And the other instructor mostly focuses on Python and electrical engineering, and I did mostly web development and front-end type tools, which led us to, I believe it was spring of 2023 when the Kalispell Police Department approached Code Girls. They figured out who we were just based off of probably news stories.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, and what all we did for the community and stuff like that. And so they reached out asking if we could build them an app that would manage their vehicle fleet. And at that time, Marianne, I think, approached me, and I reluctantly agreed and thought this would be a great project. I quickly learned React Native, which I had never done anything with. And you guys went to the Kalispell Police Department to learn their current process, which was a very much manual process.
Yes, paper and pencil.
Paper and pencil.
Put it somewhere and don't lose it.
Yeah.
Except.
And they were looking to digitize it and make it easily accessible to everybody in that department. And so I quickly jumped on the computer, started to learn React Native. You guys quickly started building requirements, learning all about the Kalispell Police Department program, and mocking up some screens. Yeah. And I got the curriculum put together, and it was a challenging 3 months of classwork. It was
chaotic,
a little bit chaotic at times. We did a lot of team programming because that was the best way to do it. Second set of eyes while somebody was at the keyboard is always pretty helpful. Oh, yeah. So, but the students worked incredibly hard. I learned a lot, and we created a product that the Kalispell Police Department absolutely loved. Yeah. We did a presentation for them, and before we knew it, I think every news source in the Valley was here as well.
Picking it up, yeah. That was a crazy day.
Yeah, I think that was our first app that we actually built for somebody else as a classroom project.
Yeah, and actually taking it all the way to, usability.
And someday I think they do plan to use it. Yeah. So it's exciting.
Yeah, it's very exciting. So as we wrap up here, what advice would you give to somebody who's interested in your field?
All of my advice would be very positive. I've had nothing but great success in this field. I've enjoyed every minute of it. It's still challenging for me to this day. I do not get bored at work ever because there's constantly new things to learn. But there are some main points that I would probably give to somebody if they're interested in this field. And one of them is to explore and learn. That's kind of top on the list because technology is forever evolving. You have to find, at a young age, I would encourage people to find a program like Code Girls or something in their area that allows them to learn a little bit about programming prior to going to college. I would recommend that. I mean, it worked for me, but I don't know. It was a challenge.
Right. Could have been easier.
Could have been easier. The next thing I would do is I would find a mentor. I would connect with other females in the industry, whether they're in the professional field or in the classroom, or maybe a teacher or just somebody. Find somebody that you can bounce ideas off of and figure out which direction you want to go within the field. Computer science is a large field with many, many avenues that you can go down. And so yeah, I would find a mentor, and then I would build a network, join tech communities. They can be online, they can be in person, attend meetups and participate in industry events, listen to podcasts, listen to YouTube videos, find courses online, find any way to engage in the network and just get involved. The more people you know, the more opportunities you could have for your future. I would embrace challenges. I've done that my whole life. I still do it to this day. Don't be discouraged by the obstacles or setbacks. Use them as opportunities and where you can learn and grow from. And lastly, I would say stay confident. Stay confident. Trust your abilities. Empower yourself with confidence. I have more confidence today than I think I ever have in my career. I can't say that I have a lot of confidence, but I have more than when I started, more than I had yesterday. And believe in your peers, to help you build that confidence. That's pretty much the advice that I would give somebody who's interested in this field.
Wonderful. Thank you. And thank you so much for coming on to the show today. It was an absolute pleasure to have you on.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to this episode. Next week on Code Girls on Air.
Once in a while, especially in the beginning, you might encounter people that either assume you're an assistant because you're a female or because you're young, or that you might not be as smart as they are because you had to start at the bottom and kind of work your way up, which happens anytime when there's a career change. But, it's good to put in the work.